Just a heads up before we get into it, today's episode contains distressing themes, including discussions of extreme violence.
Hello and welcome to the Daily Aus. I'm Lucy Tassell.
I'm Emma Gillespie.
Last week, the death of a French man was live streamed on a platform co-founded by Australia's youngest billionaire called Kik. Over 2 years, thousands of viewers watched the man, who died in his sleep, being physically assaulted in real time by several other people. In today's episode, we'll explain what you should know about the man who died, the streaming platform that saw the last 2 years of his life unfold, and the Australian billionaire who founded it.
Lucy, this is an incredibly distressing case.
Yeah.
Many aspects of it defy belief. What actually happened and how did you find out about this?
Yeah, so last week I was scrolling through my social media. It was before bed, which I know I'm not supposed to do, but I was doing it anyway. And a post appeared on my feed that really stopped me in my tracks. So it was from an account that I don't follow, but it was one of those things where the algorithm will give you things to say like, this is popping off, or maybe this seems like something you're interested in. I think it came across my path because it had hundreds of thousands of likes.
Yep.
This post is from a person called Sean Black. That's their username. They're a Twitch streamer. More about that later if you don't know what a Twitch streamer is. But here's what the post said. Quote, French Kik streamers killed a guy live after abusing him physically and mentally for months. Did I read that right? That's the whole quote.
Yeah. And when I hear that and read that quote, I also had the same response. We do read shocking things online all the time. They don't always turn out to be true.
Yeah.
But in this case, this is a real thing. This actually happened.
Yeah, it's killed is something that would need to be borne out in courts, but certainly in the sense that there was a man in France who died live on a live stream, that is true. And as you said, we see things online all the time. We investigate them. They don't necessarily come to anything, but this came to something. In the replies to this post, I found a thread of videos involving a man who went by the username Jean Pulmanov. In the videos, he's attacked over and over again by 2 other men. There are also many videos of them laughing at him, making fun of him, humiliating him. They're very upsetting. I should say they're all in French, but they're definitely upsetting even if you don't speak French. My French is a little bit rusty, but I can tell you many of the videos that I saw in this thread, which appeared to have been clipped and reposted on TikTok, as well as I was seeing it on Twitter, but they're all over the place. They show this man, Jean Pulmanov, crying. They have captions telling viewers, like, JP pleur, which means, like, Jean Pulmanov is crying in this clip. The caption says that. This man's real name is Raphael Graven. That's how we'll be referring to him for the rest of the episode.
So this is the man who died.
Yes. There's also a clip that's been shared of the man who streamed on this platform, Kik, with him discovering that he has died. That was being shared in censored and uncensored forms online. Graven is wrapped in a doona and one of the men throws a plastic bottle at him to try to wake him up, at which point they discover that he has died.
What do we know about the days leading up to this man's death? Is there footage before those final moments that helps us kind of piece together what's happened?
There's a lot of footage, and that is because this group that he was part of had been filming non-stop for nearly 300 hours. I should say not just filming, live streaming non-stop for nearly 300 hours, which works out to be just over 12 days. So they had been living and including short bouts of sleep, but not extended periods of sleep, this entire time.
So a 12-day, essentially, non-stop live stream.
Yes.
Featuring Graven,
yeah, featuring this man, Raphael Graven, who goes by this name, Jean Pulmanov. It's also one of the names of the streaming channel is Jean Pulmanov, which can be kind of confusing, which is partly why we'll be referring to him by his actual name.
Okay, so over those 12 days, what was going on for him. Where was he at? Is he included in the footage? What was happening to him?
Yeah, so he's there basically the entire time. During the stream, he is physically assaulted and subjected to public humiliation. I won't get into all the details, but some of this included the other men in this stream shocking him with electricity, repeatedly interrupting his sleep, parading him on the street in a wig, holding a sign saying he would provide free sex acts.
So somewhere in France, do we know exactly where?
In Nice, in France, in the town of Nice. It's been reported that Graven had a pre-existing heart condition. At one point in the live stream, he said he wanted to go to the hospital. In response, the others on the stream told him to sit down and shut up. At another point in the stream, he looked directly at the camera and said he wanted to stop. They obviously didn't stop. France's tech minister, so Minister for Technology, has said as many as 20,000 people watched this live stream at some point over the 12 days it was going on.
Lucy, the biggest question that keeps coming up for me, and I'm sure a lot of listeners right now, is just this feeling of how could this happen? How could this go on for so long, for such a long time?
Yeah.
Were there any commenters, anyone watching the stream who expressed their kind of concern or disappointment with what was going on?
So I also had these same questions, and my search for answers led me to an investigation published in December, so actually 9 months ago, from a French outlet called Mediapart. So they had investigated this group of streamers, which included Graven.
Did they find anything out about the identities of the other guys involved?
Yeah, we know what their pseudonyms are. So there's 4 men involved in the majority of videos released by this streaming collective. So there's, under their pseudonyms, there's Naruto, which is like an anime character, but this guy took that name, someone called Safine, someone called Kudu, and Jean Pulmanov, or JP, that's Graven, as I've said. Of the 4, Kudu and Graven were the targets of violence, and Naruto and Safine were the perpetrators.
Okay.
That was kind of the set dynamic. And there were other men, or it seemed to my eyes to only be men, coming in and out of the videos, but those are the main 4.
All right.
Their videos were often titled using slurs against people with disability. Mediapart said Kudu is disabled and is under a guardianship, while Graven was a former soldier. The investigation found Naruto and Safine would make fun of Kudu and Graven's mental capacity. And as I've said, their videos involved a seemingly unlimited amount of physical violence, humiliation, and psychological torment.
I'm still trying to understand one aspect of this. There's these kind of 4 men who appear recurrently on this channel, on these live streams.
Yeah.
2 who are the kind of physical victims of torment.
Yeah.
Were they being held captive? Do we know why they kind of continued to appear in these videos?
Yeah, this was my question too, because why would you keep coming back if you're being physically assaulted on camera for thousands of people to see? It's a very complicated situation.
Yeah.
So in a video that I saw through Mediapart's investigation, Naruto, and again, I'm sorry, I don't, like, it's his actual name has not been released. That's his pseudonym. He speaks to this. He's on stream with the other 3 guys in frame. He says Kudu and Raphael Graven are free to leave whenever they want. It's obviously more complicated than that. There's another video shared by Mediapart where Graven is doing a lie detector test. He's asked if he would leave if he could. He says yes, and then it's like verified. That's true. He's not lying. And then he's asked if he stays because of the money, and then he says yes, and then again, tick. Like, I mean, this is not scientific. These guys are operating out of an apartment in Nice. They're not doing like a proper polygraph test, but he seems to be telling the truth that he can leave, but he chooses to stay because he's getting paid to do this.
Okay, tell me about the money element then.
Yeah. So all of these people on this channel benefited financially from it because their viewers can send them money directly.
Okay.
Although I will say there's one kind of complication, which is that Kudu is under a specific kind of guardianship, which Naruto at one point in one of these videos says that means there are difficulties paying him. But then, I mean, for me, that raises questions about like,
where are the guardians?
Okay. I mean, these are adult men, but there's still like, this guy has been designated by the government as someone who needs a guardianship.
And there's still so much we don't know about the circumstances of the two victims of the physical violence.
Yeah.
What their, in terms of whatever their capacity was to consent to this participation.
And can you even consent to be physically assaulted? That's kind of a legal question.
Yep. So I want to now, Lucy, just understand more about this platform Kick. We know it's some kind of a live streaming service. There's some kind of monetization capacity for users. But what is this platform? Where did it come from?
I think the best way to explain Kick is to talk about its rival Twitch.
Okay.
So Twitch is kind of the name brand streaming platform online that you've probably heard of. But if you haven't heard of it, it's a platform primarily used to stream video games. So you would stream yourself playing a video game to an audience. They could see your screen and then they can also see you, typically in the corner of the screen. But it's used for lots of things. That's the main purpose. And fellow users can comment on streams as they're happening. So there'll be like a running chat log along the side of the video. That's true for both Twitch and Kick. Twitch did it first. On Twitch, you can give the streamers you watch money, for example, through a paid subscription. So Twitch is quite regulated. It's not afraid to boot off popular users if they say offensive things. And there are games that you're not allowed to stream yourself playing.
Okay.
So in terms of Kick, many of these things are the same. It's a streaming platform, primarily used for video games, and you can pay people that you watch. Like you can say, I want to subscribe to your channel.
Okay.
Here's $5 a month. And then that adds up and you get a lot of money. If we compare the platform's content guidelines, that's where the differences are.
Right.
So from Twitch, talking about their violence policy. Twitch says, quote, violence on Twitch is taken seriously and is considered a zero tolerance violation. All accounts associated with such activities will be indefinitely suspended. Then on Kick, we have, quote, while violence may be contextual and there can be varying degrees of impact, we do not permit content that depicts or incites abhorrent violence, including significant harm, suffering, or death.
Okay, so Twitch there, I'm picking up from its guidelines, has a more zero tolerance approach to violence, whereas the language of Kick's guidelines is more about context, kind of seemingly that there might be some violence which is acceptable.
And I think that's kind of the grey area that the Jean Pulmanov collective was operating in, which is they're saying as long as it's not significant harm or suffering, then we can continue doing this. Okay,
you mentioned that some of the videos were titled using slurs against disabled people.
Yes.
There would be lots of social media platforms that would immediately disqualify you from being on.
Yes.
What's Kick's hate speech policy?
Yeah, well, I'll explain that, but then I'll also say that the slurs were not ones that I had ever heard of.
Okay.
They're in French, and according to Mediapart, the Jean Pulmanov collective is the first French channel on Kick. So something that's struck me is possibly Kick's moderators didn't know what these words mean.
Right.
So with that in mind, Twitch's guidelines say you must not, quote, use hateful slurs, either undirected or directed, towards another individual. Kick's says, quote, context is crucial in evaluating hate speech. Words that may be acceptable in some situations can take on an entirely different meaning depending on the full context.
Interesting.
Yeah, and they say our aim is to take a considered approach to find balance between supporting free expression while ensuring we maintain a safe space for everyone.
I mean, we have to take that at face value, I suppose, but in the kind of free speech / hate speech era of mis and disinformation that we're in, there's probably a lot of red flags for a few people in that guideline on hate speech from Kick.
Yes, and I'll also say that Twitch's guidelines have a number of very specific examples of what is and isn't okay, and Kick's guidelines don't.
Okay. How did Kick come to be? Where has it come from? I had not heard of it until probably the last few months.
Yeah. So Kick was launched in late 2022, which might explain why you haven't heard of it. It was started by two men. One of them is 29-year-old Australian billionaire Edward Craven.
Okay, so an Aussie is a co-founder of this.
Yeah. Craven made his money on an online crypto gambling platform called stake.com, and that's different to the Australian share trading business Stake, but they're spelled the same way.
Stake.
That's right.
Got it.
Stake.com, the gambling platform, is actually not legal in Australia and it's not accessible to Australians because online casinos aren't legal here.
Okay, so co-founded by an Aussie but not actually available here in Australia.
Yeah, if you go to their website from Australia, it'll say, sorry, you can't access it.
Okay.
Stake.com has sponsored Premier League and F1 teams, and it has a partnership with the rapper Drake. So you might remember earlier this year when Drake was in Australia, there was a video of him throwing a shoe at a drone that was filming through his hotel window.
Yep.
It's never been explicitly stated, but it's pretty clear that that was actually an ad for Stake.
Okay, so Stake, the gambling platform, co-founded by an Aussie billionaire, has this pretty significant profile in other parts of the world. Mm-hmm. And Stake was founded by the same guy who founded Kick, the streaming platform.
That's right.
Okay, got it. Let's go back to this live streaming death, though. Has Kick responded?
Yeah, so Kick has responded on their French language Twitter or X account. Mm-hmm. They said they were very sorry, that they sent their condolences to the family. They said that the other streamers had been banned, so the other people working with Graven, and it said it would work with authorities.
What about legal ramifications? Are we expecting any criminal action or proceedings kind of both against the streamers involved, but also the platform? Because I guess it will be interesting to hear what they have to say about the 12 days leading up to this death, or even the 2 years of violence that were there kind of in plain sight.
So pretty quickly, France's AI and tech minister, her name's Clara Chapaz, she sent out a statement saying Graven's death and, quote, the violence he endured was an absolute horror. She said police were investigating and that she had referred the case to France's communication regulator. Mediapart has since responded by saying, so Mediapart, I should say, was the French outlet that investigated all of this months ago. It responded by saying it told her about what was happening before it published its investigation in December. Mm-hmm. It showed screenshots of emails and phone calls to her office that were never answered. And then at a press conference, it asked her about it directly. She said France's media regulator had opened an investigation 3 days after Mediapart published its allegations in December, but that's not necessarily clear to me if that's the investigation she was talking about in her statement.
Okay, but either way, we know that a senior minister in the French government has been aware of the abuse on this platform for some time.
Or has at least been notified.
Okay.
It's also been reported in French media that Graven and the others on the stream were questioned by police earlier this year after Mediapart's investigation. Graven is reported to have told police that he was free to leave whenever he wanted and was staging the assaults to make money. According to the BBC, an autopsy has so far found Graven's death was, quote, not due to trauma. So that would be like physical trauma. But there'll be a lot more coming in the ensuing days and weeks.
Wow, Lucy, a really distressing but fascinating story. Another kind of chapter in the world of social media and streaming and all the ethical concerns that can come out of this kind of space.
Yeah.
Thank you for taking us through that.
Thanks, Sam.
And thank you for listening to today's episode. We'll be back a little later with the evening news headlines, but until then, take care of yourself.